Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday, June 4th, 2023. Our lives are flying by. Good morning, Scarred Owl. It's wonderful to see you in the chat. Welcome back. I was gone last week. I had a high school friend out to visit overnight, and it was nice and enjoyable to catch up. So I want to welcome everybody. If you're new to my channel, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here every Sunday morning live with your weekly horoscope. And I also do an angel reading, and we pull a tarot card for each sign. This is based on whole sign Western astrology. We will start with the sign of Gemini and work our way around the Zodiac. We start with the birthday month. And if you'd like to book a reading with me, either an astrology reading or an angel reading, I am available, so you can just reach out to me. My information is below. Good morning, Small Wildflowers. Good morning, Margie. Good morning, Cece Pups. Good morning, Taylor. Good morning, Jay Sean. I was thinking about you this morning, Jay Sean, as I was getting ready and thinking about Saturn, as Saturn is stationing at 7 degrees for the whole month of June. And we have 7 people right now in the room. That's nice, kind of synergy going on there. Good morning, Lucy Rose. Good morning, Natalia. And I said hi to Taylor, I think. I want to make sure. My brain lately is feeling very slow. It's been so gloomy here. I don't know if you can tell off the patio. It's been so gloomy for so long that I just don't know how people live in cold weather for months at a time, because it's starting to, I can't tell if it's Saturn coming into my 12th house. And of course, Saturn is not only stationing at 7 degrees, Neptune has been at 27 degrees, and it's hanging out at the same degree for the whole month. So all the Piscean energy right now is like anchored into our experience, and in a way that I think is very much, if we think about Saturn's at the beginning of Pisces, and here we have Neptune at the end of Pisces, I really think there's a bit of it's like bookends for me. It's as if, as Neptune has walked through this journey through its own sign, it's really been called forth to sort of be able to balance imagination and fantasy and creativity with the structure of the human experience. And I believe as Saturn has come into this energy, that Saturn is very much wanting us to be able to gently look at our lives where we have inadvertently duplicated human structures of what we think is possible. For instance, if you play the lottery, okay, you may think, oh my God, I'll never win the lottery. What are the chances of that, right? And then they have this show on Friday nights called My Lottery Dream Home, where people win the lottery all the time, and they are obviously prospering and buying homes. So my point is this. The reason I say this is because I was just going to jump over to yesterday's full moon, but I'm going to finish with Saturn. I want you to kind of look at Saturn as Saturn stations this month at 7 degrees. How can you create harmony and balance within yourself? How can you look at the structures that have been imprinted upon you, the beliefs that have been given to you due to your environmental factors and your own soul's imprint? And can you be gentle with yourself as you just kind of become into an awareness of this, and then give yourself an opportunity to not try to figure out how to work your way out of it, but just sort of give yourself a moment to say, how much time do I actually spend in my Neptunian, being imaginative about what my life can be like or what I want? And how much time do I spend in that Saturn energy of, oh my God, how will I build it? I need to work hard. I need to, not have any fun, because there's a balance between these two energies. That's the way I want to put it. And I think it's coming into play as they're both stationing. Now, Saturn's going to go retrograde on the 18th of June. We'll talk about that more later. But this week, tomorrow, Venus enters Leo. Now, I think this is important because this is starting a blind spot with Saturn. As Saturn is up at 7 degrees of Pisces and Venus is starting to enter Leo, it's like she can't see her habits. She can't see where she's restricted. She can't see her fears. She can't see where she's got historic dynamics that are anchoring her to being small. So this is why I want you to kind of be gentle with yourself as you feel, some divine disruption, because we're still experiencing the grand fixed square. And that's where Venus is taking over for Mars, because initially Mars was in it, opposing Pluto, as Pluto is at 0 degrees Aquarius, just about to re-enter Capricorn retrograde. So where does Venus talk about? Venus talks about my money. Venus talks obviously about my self-worth, but she also rules my history, the imprint that I have as a result of how I was perceived in my family. And then we have this inconjunct aspect to Saturn. So I really think that there could be unconscious or imprinted patterns that we operate on that could feel a little, may I say, depressing. But I want to offer it this way, because as you become aware of that, you can start to go into that analysis of how much time do I really spend giving life to my dreams versus how much time do I spend restricting myself because I look at what authority is over me and what obligations and duties I have. Now, today, we also have Uranus and Mercury at 20 degrees Taurus. And this is the furthest that Uranus has gotten into Taurus since it entered Taurus. So we have these two cooperative planets in the respect that Mercury rules our mind and Uranus rules the genius mind. And here they are at 20 degrees. That's a Scorpion degree, the degree of transformation, the degree of deep psychological awareness and imprints. It's also the degree of the occult where there is magic. And that's why as I walk through these energies of Pluto and Saturn, rather than feeling all of the malefic energy that they are categorized by, I'm really trying to look at the deep rewards they both have to offer because there's so much material bounty to be had. So as we feel this conjunction between Mercury and Uranus, I think that there's going to be sort of the potentials that the things that are mercurial, not only what we speak, what we read, what we engage in social media, it also rules our teammates, our everyday activities, those short bits of information that we pass along. It also rules our siblings and like our cousins and our friends, a lot of our socialness. Uranus rules large social networks. So this conjunction could be very favorable when expressing yourself on the internet or creating content for your internet platforms. It also is an opportunity to allow yourself with Saturn stationing at 7 degrees to look at the things that you're building and to make sure that they are things that are sustainable. Now, this is how I want to kind of phrase this. When you're a rock star and you have a #1 hit and you go and you tour, I'm going to tour for the next, 36 weeks, and you have to sing the same song every night over and over again with the same excitement and vigor and jump all over the stage. That's what Saturn is asking you. Are you building things that you're willing to express and to perform and to adhere to over and over and over again? So I think this is really powerful. Now, at the same time, we're still experiencing that grand fixed square. So we have the nodes involved, Pluto and now Venus coming into play, really transforming our self-worth and our willingness to express ourselves and our talents in ways that we have maybe up until now had too much trepidation about. So I think this is kind of exciting. Now, I want to briefly talk about yesterday's full moon. I did a video on it, but I am fascinated by this woman, Julia Balaz. I saw her on Pam Gregory's astrology YouTube channel, and she was talking about the Shapley cluster or the Shapley cluster, depending on how your accent or your phraseology. Anyway, the great attractor was 1 degree away from yesterday's full moon in Sagittarius. And when I was doing my meditation this morning, I was thinking about, and I had made a mistake in my video where I referred to the 14th degree inadvertently. It appears like I'm talking about it being Aries, but I got a little confusing. The 14th degree is the Taurian degree. It is the degree that Venus rules, and it is the degree of our self-worth. So here we have this full moon in Sagittarius, which rules diversity, foreign thought, higher education, the connection to the angelic realm, wealth, and good luck, as I'm willing to look at what am I attracting? What are my thoughts attracting? The laws of the universe say that we are in an attracting, not assertion energy. So these huge, I don't even know what to call them because I'm not a scientist and I didn't go researching the great attractor, but it's this point where it's like, I feel like she was saying it's like this circular point that draws in the universes and the solar systems around it. And this to me feels like what this whole grand fixed square is offering us. Karmic opportunities with the North Node in Taurus, with Jupiter right there, to build in the material world our Venusian talents, our wants, our desires, to express our voice while we go through this opposition between Venus and Pluto. And yet, is that an opposition or could it be a bridge? And maybe, it's kind of scary to get on that bridge because it's really high. But by nature, it offers you a place of movement versus pulling and feeling that warring energy. So and then of course we have the South Node, which is the South Node offering us an opportunity to examine our beliefs and then to have an awareness whether or not we think they're working for us. Again, not criticism, not judgment, not even trying to avoid or to identify where your resistance is. If we take it as just a piece of information, and this would be the wonderful thing about the 20 degree of Uranus and Mercury coming together, we can liberate ourselves from the smaller thoughts that hold us small, that hold us in patterns that we don't really feel support us in an expansive way. So these are the things that I think are going on. And I want to encourage you, if you haven't seen that video, I've been talking about it quite a bit since I watched it, to go check it out because there are certain degrees. This really covers the Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius energies of the Zodiac. And I think they could bring, if you have personal planets there, and of course aspects that are strong, it could bring a sense of calm and solace to being more aware of your own soul's mission in this life. So that's where I'm going with that. Because of all the things that I believe that the stars and astrology is God's roadmap or God's tool for us as we manage and we develop our awareness and our ability to use the laws of attraction and the divine laws of the universe to play here, to manifest here, to create here. I do not believe we're here to learn lessons. I do not believe we're here to be punished. I do not believe we're here to pay back some sort of negative karma. I believe that karma is a series of choices that we make over and over again that then kick in the laws of attraction, and they either work for us or they don't, depending upon the vibration of the choice. All right. Fear-based or otherwise. All right, here we go. Let's go into our Geminis. Are we ready for our readings today? I've had so much internet issues, I can't even tell you. I ended up disconnecting my Cox television. I literally can't even tell you how disruptive this week has been with my electronics. And everything about the last few weeks for me has been about electricity in one way or another. So I want to offer it this way because I was like, what's going on? There's no Mercury retrograde. But what I realized as I was looking at the weeks transits was that as Mercury's been approaching Uranus, that could really start to electrify things, really start to make things seem really weird. Exactly, a power outage last night. That makes sense. So I got Dish Network and it worked really great for a week. And then last night I was giving the dog a bath, listening to my Ancient Aliens, because I watched that on Saturday night. I've seen so many of the same shows over and over again. But anyway, and then it froze. And I was like, okay, I need to surrender. I in this moment, I just get to surrender, because otherwise I'm going to go to the other end of the stick and let frustration make me and my Aries rising and my Taurus moon get very rammy and bully, and it's not going to do me any good. So I was like, uncle, because when I went to disconnect the Cox, my bill went up $3. I couldn't even believe it. $3 more for less services. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that anymore because I'm going to do something new. All right, everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for being loyal supporters. So I just want to say that, and let's go on to our Gemini Rising. Here we go. Your tarot card is beautiful for this week. This is a card of self-satisfaction. I love the Nine of Cups. This gentleman has lined up his cups beautifully. We see they represent sort of this semicircle, which means there's flexibility here. The cups aren't full, though, so there's still more to be done. And yet at the same time, he sits in satisfaction, because the red cap indicates, to me, it's like he has somehow created some sort of security through his mind, because that's the base chakra, the red color. And rather than seeing it sit at our tailbone, here it is. His cap is saying, I'm aware of my mind, and I have a sense of satisfaction, because the blue curtain here represents to me the blue chakra. The floor being sort of orangey represents that sacral chakra of desires, wants. There's a great feeling of satisfaction and of having an awareness that makes me have a sense of, as if I'm driving the bus of my life, a sense of control where there could be chaos. Let's look and see, Gemini, where that could be. Because, Uranus can bring in a little bit of expect the unexpected. And Taurus is your 12th house. So there, you may be very satisfied. Lately, when I've had disruptive things going on and I haven't bitten anybody's head off or found old parts of Teri that were like, I'm right, you're wrong. And when I've just sort of been aware of it and then tried to move a different direction, I find a lot of satisfaction in my own evolution. So for Gemini, with Taurus being your 12th house, there could be epiphanies and an actual liberation from things. Mercury rules young people, children. In your 12th house, it rules, that which is not seen. It rules, that which is, it rules the doctor and hospitals. Well, you know what? Maybe some of this is going to come to an end. Maybe some of this is going to come to a conclusion, because here we have satisfaction for Gemini. Our first angel is Fiona. Now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. Shanti is the angel of peace. Maya is the angel of schooling and education. And Rosetta is about children, raising children, parenting children. It's also very kind of, we talked about young children being associated with Mercury. So you may find, I felt like there was when Maya came out as far as education, I almost felt like this was tools I could take forward with me. Since Jupiter moved into my second house of Taurus, I've been very aware of food. I've been very aware of my body. Saturn's moved into my 12th house, and I've been juicing more and trying to get off the bread now. And I found Barbara O'Neill. She's an Australian woman. I found her very interesting, and I bought a rebounder so my brain will get some blood for a change. So you may find that what you've been going through, Gemini, brings you a piece of information that you otherwise would not have, that will bring peace not only now and self-satisfaction, but it will be also an opportunity to take that education with you wherever you go. All right, Shanti's being joined by the Death card. Maya's being joined by the Frog. And the hawk is joining Rosetta. Okay, Fiona says, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. And I always see this epiphany as glowing around her head. Now, here, the spider may represent creative projects on the face of the card. Oftentimes it represents relationships, because whatever gets in the web kind of doesn't come out. Not without the spider eating it first. But my point is I think that you're going to come into some information of some kind that brings satisfaction. And I'm going to the idea that information is that conjunction between Mercury and Uranus in your 12th house of health. There's health involved there. And you may find that part of it has to do with, I don't know why I want to say this, but you may find that there's something about what you're ingesting that is giving you either affecting your health in some way. I don't know why I want to say this, but Lucky is having a huge ape outbreak again. I have no idea why. I give him baths twice a week, etc. I decided this week to take him off of beef, even though he has a raw diet, and I went to bunnies. Sorry for the bunnies, but I decided it was, I heard it was a non-allergenic food. So I'm trying this, and I've added a probiotic to his goat milk and all of this to help him with his body. You may find, Gemini, that you find things that are inadvertently within the nutritional way that you're dealing with things that'll either help your mood or help your physical body in some way, because this self-satisfaction card feels as if there's more to be done. And then Shanti brings in peace, and this is peace through transformation, and the transformation comes through some sort of schooling. Now I see the frog, which represents an emotional cleanup, the releasing of emotional baggage. And I don't really know if I think that's baggage, but it could have to do with any stresses that you've been going through. You know, we could go back to the idea that Mars was transiting your first house for 7 months between the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023. And while we're in June now, the effects of that could still sort of be playing out. And I say that only because Mars can be very disruptive, and Mars can be very, you know, on some level can bring an awareness to things like I don't know why I saw fire all of a sudden. So if there's something going on with your body, you may even think about researching cayenne pepper to open up your capillaries, or you may look into things that bring warmth to the body. I don't know why I want to say that. But at the end of the day, here is Rosetta, which talks about teaching, guiding children, and then the hawk is signs and omens and an ability to rise above a situation. This is, to me, Mercury and Uranus. And I say that because, again, there's something that happens on the interior for Gemini that will then come back into your physical experience in the following weeks. Jules, that's so interesting. I hope whatever the blood work is, that it works out well. Whenever I see anything about the blood, I always think about beet juice. And I had a huge, huge thing of beet juice yesterday. I'm very, very engaged in ingesting things that serve my body. I've got a few last frontiers to get rid of, like my homemade mocha. But here, again, for Gemini, I think a piece of information comes through. I think that there's something that brings a sense of satisfaction, a sense of feeling more in control of your own life. And it may be through, on some level, a discernment of some kind, you know, not just blindly taking the advice of somebody, but allowing that conjunction to transform you. Okay, that conjunction bring Uranus and Mercury at 20 degrees, which is the Scorpio degree. So you may even identify that you're feeling more satisfied than you are fearful, and you're trusting what you've learned up until now. And as a result of it, you're willing to bet on yourself. This is transformation. This is Pluto. And here's a sense of peace. And sometimes Gemini doesn't feel peace because their minds go back and forth. I want to offer you, Jules, that I don't know if you heard me, but Barbara O'Neill, I found her on YouTube. I think she came across maybe on my TikTok at first, and then I went looking for her, and I just found her lectures to be very interesting. They're kind of scientific, but she talks a lot about poultices and things, that you can put on the body. And she did talk about charcoal and other things to help cleanse the body. So I don't know, you may want to just, research some of those things. I kind of feel like no one school of thought is perfect, but maybe an integration of thoughts. And when you talk about, what did you say? You're a Taurus ascendant. So your first house right now, you've got Jupiter there, you've got the North Node there. This may be really where you start to, because, Taurus rules food. So you may find that some of the adjustments in your diet help you feel better. I've been trying to eat more raw foods and things. And at the same time, I found this little pizza place, and they make a marinara cheese-free pizza, gluten-free crust kind of thing. And I've been eating that. And I got to tell you, ever since I've been eating that, it's more carbs. And I don't usually do that many carbs. And this whole arm has been bothering me. My elbow, all the way down to this finger right here. I don't know if it's like something going on here. So I stopped doing that. I went on like a week without going there. Then I went back this last few days ago and got a pizza, the same marinara thing. And then I felt my hands starting to stiffen up again. So I don't know if maybe it's the crust. I just bought a rebounder because normally I don't exercise. To be honest with you, I'm lazy. I'm ruled by Mars, but my sun and my moon are ruled by Venus. And Venus likes to lay around with palm fronds and grapes. But I'm trying. I started the rebounder so I can just bounce in my living room while I'm watching TV. Okay. Did Small Wildflowers, is everything okay? Oh, do you have to leave? Oh no. Oh no. Well, let's all, we're going to say prayers for Small Wildflowers. Hopefully this will somehow, maybe we'll get some information. Oh my goodness, so worried. Okay, we're sending prayers for you and angels that you'll be, oh dear goodness gracious. All right, we will definitely send, that would be Uranus and Mercury. I can see how that could happen. So crazy. All right. Sending lots of love to you, my dear. All right. I'm going to go on. But we'll be thinking about you, and I'll be saying prayers for you, and hopefully be able to check in with you in a couple of days, and everything will have sort of course corrected. All right. Let's go on to our Cancers. Your card is the 5 of Swords. This is a bit of a challenging energy. This gentleman has won the battle, but has he really won the battle? Because it doesn't look like there's really any sort of resolution. So let's see where we're going here. Posted up, so you've heard about Barbara as well. I think she's very, very interesting. There's a soothingness to her for some reason to me. I don't know if it's her sort of bohemian way of being, but she seems very even keel. And I think it's very interesting that she's been banned. I think she was banned in Australia, and it made me feel like her information must be awfully interesting and awfully empowering. Because it takes somebody who is really standing in alignment with source to become the target of those who make money from certain endeavors. Okay, so Cancer, we have the 5 of Swords. Let's see what the angels have to say. Maya is our first angel. The second is Xana. The third is Desiree. And the final is Caressa. Now, in this 5 of Swords, the guy is holding 2 swords up, and then he's got one, he's sort of holding like a walking stick, and then there are 2 on the ground, and the gentlemen have their back to him. And, to me, when I look at this, the first thing I thought of is that he's not really listening as to what these other 2 gentlemen what their concerns are. They're not stabbed. There's no real evidence of war, but there's an evidence of dominance. And here, you may be the one feeling the Five of Swords energy versus you being the person who's purporting the Five of Swords energy. Maya's being joined by the Raven. Xana's being joined by the Letting Go card. Desiree is being joined by the butterfly, and Caressa is being joined by the cow. I want to offer this for my my Cancers. As Pluto moves into late degrees of Capricorn, especially if you are a late degree Cancer and you feel this opposition, you may start to feel that tension. You also may be responding to the Pisces energy. Off the top of my head, I can't think of where Pisces is in your chart because I'm just not that swift lately, but I want to offer it this way, because if there's a feeling of a slowdown, if there's some feeling as if you're not being recognized, and there's a sense of people being kind of cold and uncaring, there could very well be a really good opportunity coming on the backside of that. Meaning, sometimes we think that we are secure because we can see where our money's coming from. We can see, our partner in our life. We can see the food in the refrigerator, the roof over our heads. And yet all of that isn't really a guarantee. It's a faux guarantee. It's the eyes creating a guarantee, because I have a feeling something better is happening for Cancer. And this last few degrees of Capricorn creating a bit of a challenge potentially. And, you just had Mars in your house a few weeks ago. You've had Venus moving through your house. She's about to go into Leo, which, because I feel like this is about magical events, a synchronicity of things. And here's Maya. And I think you may be learning about a synchronicity. You may be experiencing a clash between what your heart wants and what your head tells you is capable, you're capable of, or what's probable. And in the back of your head, there's this, I almost feel as if there's some sort of clash happening. There's some sort of challenge happening. And if it is a challenge, because the grand fixed square is in the Leo portion, is your second house, and that there may be a feeling of money, maybe a feeling of not being heard over there. And at the same time, what I want to say is that as you step away from that situation, there's the letting go card, there's the protection angel. And as you realize that conditions may not have been favorable up until now because there's too much force, there's too much something coming at you, there is an opportunity for you to blossom, because as something ends, we just had a full moon in Sagittarius, something comes into your experience that brings more nourishment, that offers you abundance, that is a flow of giving and receiving. And here, this is kind of the cow. We could think of it as the bull. So in your Taurus energy, you could very much be feeling more bounty. I believe if I go backwards, Cancer rising, that makes Gemini your 12th house, which makes your 11th house Taurus. And if something is shut down, if you were laid off, or you've had a client go away, or there's a feeling of a foot dragging in some way, it could very well be opening a spot that's going to bring in so much more opportunity. This is the end of a cycle, and yet the end of the cycle brings more happiness, abundance, and nourishment. And I wanted to go straight to the Taurus energy because of this. So sometimes with our little crabs, you are so focused on those around you that you can't always see how you're being protected from the unseeable. That's where I'm going. Okay. So try not to take things for face value this week. I've had some disruptive things happening. I've had some weird challenges going on. And at the same time, as I said earlier, just my way of handling some of these challenges is making me more aware of my own evolution, which is letting me rewrite my imprint. My imprint's always going to be there. I'm not expecting it to be eradicated or released, but I am expecting an incorporation. So I can take a situation that is completely disruptive, and I don't always do it well. I have to work sometimes at it, Saturn, but I can look at it and then be like, well, I showed up like this and I felt like this after it ended, and I'm so proud of me. Okay, welcome, Astral Guide. So nice to have you in the room. Okay, we have started at Gemini and we're working our way around the Zodiac. We're going into our Leos right now. We're pulling the tarot card. This is Leo Rising. It's also applicable for Leo Sun and Leo Moon. Okay, here is the Four of Swords. And I want to offer this to my Leos because Leo is, you just had Mars going through your first house and now Venus is going to enter it for 4 months. And I just think this is a yummy energy. I know Venus is going to make this, blind spot to Saturn as this happens. So initially it may feel a little funky. And I want to offer it this way because the funkiness may be that you have a certain, goal in mind. Okay. And it may be based on something that you think is possible, probable, likely, very earthbound. Okay. And at the same time, you may be limiting yourself. Okay. And that limitation could kind of create a little bit of challenge. That limitation being Venus entering your first house, early degrees, making that in conjunct to Saturn in Pisces. But at the same time, when you relax and you're like, okay, divine inspiration is coming. I'm not going to worry about the money. I'm not going to worry about if everybody likes me. I'm not going to worry about if I make a mistake. I make mistakes all the time. And I don't know why, because I know these things, but I think sometimes my brain moves faster than my mouth, or my mouth is moving faster than my brain. I don't know which, but what I've learned is a lot of self-forgiveness because you guys love me through the mistakes I make. And that's a really powerful thing to take away from this. So somewhere, Leo, I want you to relax a little bit and to, because you're part of this whole square that's been going on. You're part of this tense box making me feel like, that's exactly how it makes me feel. And at the same time, I feel like with the nodes being involved in this grand fixed square, it's super important for me to be aware so I don't inadvertently repeat things and have to walk through them again, because my soul will choose to walk through them again. Not because somebody else said, you've been a bad girl, but I'm going to want to seek balance. Now, let's remember that Saturn is at 7 degrees all month. So the 7th degree is that Libra degree. It's about balance. Balance is not a flat line, but an ebb and a flow through up and down, through what feels yummy and what feels a little challenging. And when it feels challenging, my opportunity is to seek that wisdom within the disruption. Am I truly, as mad about whatever I'm mad about? Do I feel as secure? It's those deeper questions. And when I say, do I feel secure? That's never going to be about if someone else is taking care of me, but more about my ability to express myself and know that my talents will bring me bounty. So here, Leo Rising, this is about just sort of taking a bit of a rest, maybe even enjoying a little meditation time. No expectations attached to the meditation. I used to know a girl who used to run, and she would call her runs a meditation, and it made perfect sense to me. She was a Leo sun. She's kind of a mover and a shaker. And when they say you get into the zone, I think that's a place where you can get into this mobile meditation. So you may want to, move your body. But let's see what the angels have to say. As I look at this Four of Swords, I have to kind of go back a little bit, because look at this. It almost feels like the sword underneath this knight is what the Pluto energy is. It's what is the thoughts underneath the thoughts that I can see. So here again, there's this opportunity to dig deeper into the psychology of what I believe. If indeed, and this is something I'm so relieved of, because for a while I was working so hard to build this YouTube channel that I think I was shooting myself in the foot. because inadvertently working so hard was meant I didn't believe in myself, or I didn't believe there would be an audience that would find me palatable. And when I started to realize, if maybe it's just about me enjoying myself while I do this, me enjoying the community, me enjoying exploring astrology from a different way of being and incorporating the other spiritual schools and tools that I've learned. And when I started to take the pressure off myself to be something outside of myself for something else, then I became my own audience, and my own audience made me aware of my thinking. Because look at this, I really feel as if there's an opportunity to give that intention a rest. Because if you're undermining your own expression because you think the audience won't find you palatable, then you're kind of hosing yourself over, because everybody has a different opinion, and there's just as many people who may like you that don't like you. And you know what? The people that are really in the game, they get a lot of crap. Look at Taylor Swift. She's taken so much crap. She just came off the top of my head. But, Leo energy. I don't know if she's a Leo, but I think she's actually Sagittarius. But in any case, Leo is the performer. Leo is the leader. There's a lot of pressure. And you rule the heart and courage and the spine. All right, our first angel is Maya, the angel of schooling and education. The second is Isabella. The third is Rochelle. And the final is Isaiah. Sometimes I say to myself, when I feel like I should be, efforting more, I say, well, maybe the universe is doing something that I'm not aware of. Maybe all my efforting would just be spinning my wheels, and I can clean out my closet today and not worry about it. Or I can, actually plan my meals ahead this week instead of always feeling like I need to do. Being an entrepreneur, there is a weird feeling of always having to do something every day to move your story forward. There's always a time of month when a bill is due or something gets to get done. And it's hard to know how to relax and let the universe inspire you or bring something to you, which is why this full moon in Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter on the great attractor, was so fascinating to me, because it's like all of a sudden I started to see evidence that science is coming in and starting to validate these ideas that up until now have been considered voodoo. And The Secret, while was a great book and it's a wonderful dynamic and true, it's really not something that the human adopts easily because of the imprint. So as we become first aware of the imprint without chewing on the imprint, just a piece of information, that gives us a choice to move one way or the other. Okay. This is all for Leo. Maya is being joined by the goblin. Isabella is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Rochelle is being joined by the protection card. And Isaiah is being joined by the movement card. So I spoke earlier about how Venus is going to enter into Leo tomorrow and begin her opposition. She's already in out of sign opposition to Aquarius. And, again, I think this is a real conversation. I'm sorry, Pluto in Aquarius. See, this is how I mess up. I talk too fast. This Pluto is digging deep. Pluto right now, everything Pluto's been talking about is, what is your psychological imprint? What is the deep toxic energies that you operate on that you didn't necessarily create, but rather environmentally was given to you, and now you get to discern through them and start to decide whether or not they work for you. Because as you start to focus on something new and different that is a more alignment to what you want, there is no man or government on this earth that is stronger than the laws of attraction and the laws of this universe. And the more we practice them, the more those powers that be get scared and writhe and fuel more fear into us. So here, Maya is the angel of schooling and education, Leo rising, and part of that is where you're edging God out, which plays right into this Four of Swords, because the thing that's most prominent is the colorfulness of the stained glass, which gives us this feeling of divinity, this feeling of connection to God and the angels. And part of it is relaxing, because those three swords that are up on the wall are not in any sort of real, truly dangerous place, but there's something they're used to. You're used to protecting yourself in some way, because the swords are pointing down towards you, yet there's really nothing there that's creating a threat. So as you relax, you can become more aware of the psychological imprint and then allow for the divine. And this ego card is where you're actually edging God out, and you're learning about that through your heart, through courage, through your repetitive story. Because Isabella is saying the timing is right, and that to a happy outcome follows your positive expectations. But the Lady of the Lake is in the midst of a challenge because her emotions are telling her one thing, her head is telling her another thing, and her truth is being held ever so slightly, not gently, not with fragility, but with ease through this storm. So that is where you being able to come into a realization, Leo, that the divine inspiration will take you till the next step, which will then support the way you want to express yourself, support your creative endeavors, support the things that you have trepidation about. Because as you honor and follow the guidance of your heart, happiness and money and a sense of satisfaction is coming to you, and that is protected. The protection number is a 38, which reduces down to an 11, which plays back to your thoughts. The 11 is the master number of thought. And really what we are here to work on is utilizing this apparatus for manifestation. Because when we're out of body, we don't have that experience. It is not exactly the same. There's still things to learn while we're out of body. There's things to experience is a better way to phrase it. I'm not saying we know everything and we're experts at everything, but we are that constant adventuring, and that learning becomes fun. And we're more aware of that out of body than when we get into the dense human experience, because Isaiah is saying it's time to give birth to new ideas and new situations. And then we'll start to see some movement. But the movement doesn't come from your efforting. It comes from your awareness of when you're holding yourself small and not allowing yourself to let the divine lead you into an experience that supports your dreams. So this is the kind of thing where I'm just going to use an example. As a performer, Leo is the performer, you could have all the talent in the world and you can go to the karaoke's and you can sing and everybody can tell you you're great. And you could diminish that by saying, well, we're just in the bowling alley doing karaoke. I would never dream of singing on the, world stage. Then you don't get to have your dream because you cut yourself off. And then, all of a sudden you get this divine inspiration everywhere you go, spirit saying, express yourself out in the real world, express yourself out in the real world. You're going to have so much fun if you do. And that's where you start to get brave and start to feel something yum and warm. McKenna, I was just thinking about you literally like this last week, and I was reaching out to you through the cosmos, wondering how you were. So welcome to the room. All right, we're going on to our Virgos. We started at Gemini birthday month, and we are working our way through the Zodiac. So that, for those of you that are just entering the room, congratulations. That's so exciting, with the full moon in Sagittarius, which is right up your alley, because I believe, if I remember correctly, you're a Sagittarius. I was thinking about that this week. I was thinking about how some people may, with the full moon, end up finishing a cycle of education, of higher education, and then being able to move on to that. Fun, fun, fun. All right, here we go. Virgo, our tarot card is the 10 of Pentacles. Now, this card, while it is just rich of material bounty, it's much deeper. There's tradition here. There is every element of the family represented, generations from young to old. There is, the bounty of the family and the pets that we love so much. Everything here seeps of abundance, of tradition, of a sense of history underneath it all. And there's a sense of stability with this. Let's look, Virgo. And our early Virgos, 0 to 7 degrees, are going to experience an opposition with Saturn. And this 10 of Pentacles, on some level, as I said, represents a history. So let's see where we're going with this. because I'm going to start to think that an opposition is a little painful in the beginning, and then it starts to create a bridge, and I get to be brave as I'm building the bridge. Because when I think about a bridge builder, and well, I've never actually built one physically, I imagine you start with a plank, then you attach a second plank, you assess the stability of that, then you attach a third plank, assess the stability of that, fourth plank, like this. I'm kind of picturing a bridge like a swinging bridge in a tropical forest that has like vines that you hold on here and wood down here. I'm not picturing like a cement bridge. So for clarity, Virgo, our first angel is Isabella. The second is Ariel. The third is Archangel Michael. And the fourth is Azure. Isabella is being joined by the Fear card. Ariel's being joined by the Dragon. The Spider is joining Archangel Michael. And Azure is being joined by the Trust card. Okay, so when I look at this, the first thing I think of is if for some reason Virgo is experiencing any sort of restriction, lack, limitation, again, Saturn is stationed at 7 degrees, will be at 7 degrees the whole month of June, first moving direct, and then of course starting its retrograde. This to me feels as if there could potentially bring up historic matters within the family or things that you feel a sense of duty to. When I look at this, this can also represent inherited money, but I'm not really going there with this as much as to me right now for Virgos. It feels as if there is an opportunity for you, if you're feeling that Saturnian energy already, that potentially it's time to look at where old stories or traditions or dynamics that you have supported you up until now, are they still true and valid for you, or are you looking for something more creative and fun to do? There are certain signs, especially the material signs, the earth signs, the ones that build in the material world, that get tethered to that dynamic. And I don't know if I think that's fair. Kobe Bryant was a Virgo sun, and he had Saturn conjunct his sun, if I remember correctly. And this made him work very, very hard at his craft. Because for my Virgos, I think the timing is right for you to really examine where your fears could potentially be holding you back. And fear is also Saturnian. Where are you obligated? Where do you feel a sense of duty where you have to versus get to? One of the things that became so powerful for me as I liberated myself from an everyday existence. I come from very average people. My dad was a machinist. My bio mom never worked a day. Well, okay, so she was a preschool teacher for a while, but for the most part, she's lived off the government her whole life. My stepmother was an administrator at UCLA before she retired. Very average people. And, I think what I'm looking at here is that it's time for Virgo a little bit to look at their imprint and to see and assess whether their fears are truly valid anymore. Maybe these things have started to ease up and you're not giving yourself opportunity, because Ariel is offering new experiences and a sense of calm and peace about them. But part of it is you having the courage to really look into your relationships and where do you feel valued versus where do you feel like you're serving the other party. Because Azure is saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith and don't try to force it. And then there's the Trust card. And the Trust card for me is it's the number 47, which again reduces down to an 11. So I feel as if this starts with a 10, that starts with the mercurial. Your ruling planet is right next to Uranus right now. And it's at the Scorpio degree, giving you an opportunity to liberate yourself from potentially old situations that have tethered you, that will bring in more bounty when you release them the way you perceive them to be. Yes, we are on Virgo Rising right now. We are working on heading our way around the Zodiac. We started at Gemini, so we're just I got to talk faster. Overall, this week, I want to offer it this way for my Virgos. This feels like an opportunity to where historic fears that have been sitting under the surface could come up. I'm not good enough. I'm not working hard enough. I'm not fast enough. I'm not being supported enough. And I feel like the task is, will you trust a bigger picture and focus in on, yes, I'm being supported. Yes, there's something going on. The divine is working for me. And now is an opportunity for me to be relaxed. The other thing about Virgo is it rules my work, my employees and employers. Look, he's having a dream. And he's making noises. But I'm saying this because if for some reason you've experienced a challenge with work, or you've quit your job, or you were laid off, it could very well be bringing in something much more aligned to what you want to experience in the way of joy, and trusting that you have inadvertently been calling forth that experience. Oh, did you hear him, Scarred Owl? His little nose is moving. Poor little guy. He's really a very happy-go-lucky boy, while he's, no pun intended, while he's suffering through these terrible allergies. I hope that changing his diet's going to help relieve some of that. So we'll see. It's the last thing I've tried. Okay, on to our Libras. This is the cup of love. Now, I want to offer it this way because it's also the dove of peace. Now, as Pluto moves back into Capricorn, it squares the cardinals. It squares Aries and Libra, and it opposes Cancer. So I say that because I am a 27-degree Libra, Mars in Libra, and I'm not afraid of this square at all. I am actually kind of, I know it presents a real deep honesty with me, but what I want more than anything is to feel a sense of peace and flow in my life. I don't really want material things. When I think about it, do I want money? Yeah, but I don't want money. I want the flow that money offers. So here, I think that there's an opportunity for peace and flow for my Libras. And I want to offer it too, because Saturn is stationing at 7 degrees. And that's your number. We're in a 7-year. So there's something very much about an opportunity to assess things from a place of balance, almost as if you're, the scales of justice is the way I want to say it. All right, let's see what the angels have to say. Oh, your little kitty was chattering at the birds. I don't know what to think, because they're tearing up the highway too. So I don't know if he's allergic to some of this cement stuff that he walks through, the black tar they put down, the crap that's going on in the air. You would think if you walked into my home in the afternoon and I dusted in the morning, you would think I hadn't dusted in a week. It's so crazy around here between the sandy, dusty, this. And I just think it's all, our awareness of the disruption leads to our awareness of more disruption. Like the big disruption makes us aware of the little disruption. So I bet, because my kitties used to make a weird little sound. I want to say the other thing is, where I live, there's, the ocean on one side and there's the highway on the other. And the highway is been being under construction for, I don't know, a year and a half now, and there's been construction everywhere. It makes the drivers really impatient. So you hear the impatience of them, revving their engines to get to, 15 feet ahead of themselves, but whatever. But what's come to me is that I feel like Spirit keeps saying, are you going to look at the chaos, or are you going to look at the calm? You're going to look at the chaos, or you're going to look at the calm? And I think that's a big decision we're all getting to ask ourselves, because if we start to look at the chaos, oh my God, it's going to get a freaking momentum. I watch Mama Tot on TikTok, and she makes it look so fun to have a bird. Like they're really quite characters is the word I want to use. They have quite a bit of personality. All right, Libra. Our first angel is Teresa. The second is Astera. The third is Chantal. And the final is Daniel. Wow. This feels like it's about the emotional love body. I love the name Prince. Was he named after the musician? Does he have a purple beret or a raspberry beret? I bet they are, because they seem like they're very busy. Okay, Libra. Joining Teresa is the protection card. Joining Astera is the frog. Joining Chantal is the lady of the lake. And joining Daniel is the horse. The Ace of Cups is always the cup of love. It's always something that when you're a teenager and you go to a psychic, you're like, oh yeah, does my boyfriend love me? And you want to see something like this. I want to offer it this way because it feels very much as if Libra is, maybe this lack of balance is kind of crawling around and making you nervous, because Teresa is a card of worry for me. She feels as if she's just kind of weighed down. And then we have the protection card. And that protection card is a 38. So the protection isn't coming from outside yourself, but rather an ability to identify your thoughts. Now, I'm a Libra sun, and I'm always, my whole life, have been stretching for balance. And as I started to study astrology as an adult, and I saw Pluto traversing each one of my personal planets before it started to square them, it made so much sense as to why I've lived sort of the path I have. And that path is, as sometimes toxic as it felt, as Plutonian and disruptive as it felt, it has given me, I believe, a great amount of wisdom. And that doesn't make me somebody who knows it all. It makes me someone who knows herself very well. That's the wisdom I'm talking about, because that's where I believe the protection comes from worry, is when you're aware of your thoughts, when the ace is a 1. I am abundant as I connect with the universe, because God brings me that abundance. The universe brings that to me as I focus in on that which I love, that which brings me bounty. Your ruling planet is going to go into an aspect with Saturn where something comes up that feels like a blind side. And oftentimes a blind side can feel like something you've done before, like, oh my God, I thought I was done with that crap. And here we go. Oh no, it's happening all over again. I feel as if Spirit is saying this is the opportunity to actually stay focused on the path that you want to experience versus the path that you have experienced. Because as you reach for where you want to go, not only are there epiphanies being offered, the divine sees you, you feel a connection. And in doing so, it helps you to feel a sense of control or a sense of ease with your emotional journey. The frog is also in Asian cultures. I believe it's the Chinese culture, Chinese astrology. The frog is a very prosperous symbol. That's why when you see in Asian restaurants, they put a coin in the frog's mouth. It brings bounty. Now, here is Chantal. Chantal talks about love. She talks about intimate love, a resurgence of love, or a new relationship coming in. And then there's the Lady of the Lake, which is about a deeper truth, self-respect, responsibility. And there's a bit of a war going on here with the truth in the middle. I believe that this is for Libra, in the angel's advice, an opportunity to assess what you really need in love, how you want to love, and how you want to be expressing love. And I feel that if there's been a challenge, if you've been worried that love is elusive for you, it could be that you're being protected from an old imprint when you would inadvertently be giving up a part of yourself in order to mold with somebody else. Because Daniel, the angel of marriage, is here. And now I see my Sagittarian energy. I see an energy. The horse here kind of feels more about broadening the way I'm thinking and going back to a deeper belief and remembering what it is that I want. I was never married. And I don't feel victimized by that. It very much feels like a choice. I'm pretty sure that if I had wanted to be married and procreate children and get those markers, I could have done that. But I always had this awareness, and maybe it's because I watched my parents and my grandparents live miserable lives, married and unmarried and divorced a million times, that I was like, you know what? When I shut my door, there's peace here, except the nonsense that runs around in my head. And even having my friend here last weekend, I'm not used to having anybody in my house. I couldn't sleep because, just having somebody in my house, made me feel like, it made me aware that I enjoy being alone. And it's not negative, because sometimes I feel like I've been put there. So this is where I'm going with my Libras, because I think there's more love being offered as you redefine how you want to be loved and how you want to express that love. And rather than worrying about something, realize that you're protected as your mind focuses in on how it feels to be loved. As I've gotten older, I started off saying this jokingly to friends, if I ever find a boyfriend, he gets to live next door around the corner. We can spend the evening together, but he gets to go home to his house and his toilet and his bathroom. And I kind of laugh, but you know what? It sounds super attractive to me. And the older I get, the more older men I know, the more they like their alone time. So there's this weird cooperative feeling that maybe we're redefining how we do relationships. So, and as Libra, who's so relationship oriented, gives life to a new idea of how do I do relationships and how do I rewrite it? And I don't try to duplicate that which has been set forth, but rather rewrite and restructure my relationships for me. Okay, that's all I want to say. On to our Scorpios. Good morning, Astro Guide. Welcome here. Hi, Jenny G. Good to see you in the room. Hope I said hi to everybody. Okay, here we go. Scorpio, this is Mars in Capricorn. This is a contract. This is work. This is mastery. This is also can in some ways be an apprenticeship, although I oftentimes see this guy as somebody who knows how to implement these people's requests, the contract. Let's see where we're going here. We have, our early born Scorpios are feeling the South Node, and then in the opposition of Jupiter. So let's see what's going on here. And for my Scorpios, I really want to encourage you to go look at the Shapley, or I think it's Shapley, Shapley cluster, because the points, there are very significant points. The second degree of Scorpio is a significant point. Right now, I don't have my notes as to whether it's the actual Shapley attractor or whether it's the galactic center. I think it starts off with the galactic centers at 27 degrees Sagittarius, and then I think the super galactic center is at 2 degrees Libra, and then we go to 14 degrees Sagittarius with the great attractor, and then the Shapley attractor I think is at 2 degrees Scorpio. I'm just doing this off the top of my head, but that video with Julia Balaz, fabulous, on Pam Gregory's website. Can't recommend it enough. My point is this, because for my Scorpios, being ruled by Pluto and being ruled by Mars doesn't sound easy when you talk about regular astrology. And at the same time, it speaks of a holy mission. And this video seemed to support that. So I really want to offer it, because as we see Mars in Capricorn here, Mars is exalted in Capricorn, surprisingly enough, because Mars is Luke Skywalker and Capricorn is like Yoda. So here, something's happening for you, and there could be an opportunity that comes for some work situation. Yeah, there's all these, not only are there those points, she talks about orbs and she talks about personal planets being in aspect to these points, which indicates a very strong intention of the soul. And I believe more people than not are here in a way that is helping shift all the energy on this planet, not just our own individual lives. So, Scorpio, it's very powerful. And with the Shapley, I think it's called the Shapley cluster, the Shapley attractor being the fourth point, and then the whole situation is the cluster. It's at 2 degrees Scorpio, which means the South Node is sitting on it. So I think that's really important for some karmic dynamics here. So we have Opal, we have Archangel Gabriel, we have Serena, ooh, and we have Mystique. Whoa. Opal is being joined by the dog. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by Merlin. Serena is being joined by the Risk card. And Mystique is being joined by the High Priestess. You know, it's interesting when I look at this because, okay, so we talked about this representing a contract. It's in the material, it's Capricorn energy, and we see the priest there. We see, you know, this outfit's kind of interesting to me because this long tail doesn't really give me an idea of whether this person is a royal or the court jester. And yet here we don't know if this guy is an apprentice or whether he is the master. And yet we can clearly identify this guy is a religious figure of some kind. A monk, it looks like to me. And I say this because Scorpio, I think that this is, Opal represents being a child of God, and this represents unconditional love, loyalty, and sincerity. I think this is God saying that you are a child of God. And if you've been experiencing challenges, if you've been experiencing the South Node going through your first house, just completely destroying your ego and making you feel like every contract, everyone you're working with is somehow juicing you or, you know, kind of eroding, I think that there is an opportunity to create more balance. And I want to offer it this way because Archangel Gabriel talks about having an important life's purpose in arts and communications. That's what the face of this card is. And oftentimes I've been referring to it as Gemini, but today I'm going to really think of it as the face of this card because Merlin is offering magical energy, a sense of balance, a sense of alchemy. Alchemy is pressure. Alchemy is a challenging situation that actually brings out the best in a person. And here it is, I think, is that this is about you starting to take on that boss role within your own life, that you start to stand as the master versus the apprentice in your work life, in the contracts that you create with other people, that this is a time that where spirit is asking you to be loyal to yourself and to your own evolution, because here is Serena all about money, and Scorpio rules billionaires. This is the funny thing. You know, we complain about Saturn, we complain about Pluto because they're so malefic, and yet they bring wealth. Venus does not necessarily bring wealth. Mercury doesn't bring wealth. Saturn brings wealth, but it brings wealth because you were willing to be determined and tenacious and to go the distance. So here's Serena saying, Scorpio, are you going to bet on yourself? Are you going to bet on this? Are you going to be willing to continue to master your craft and become more and more able as you trust your inner knowing? Because that's what the High Priestess represents. You know, you rule the occult. The occult is nothing more than the laws of attraction and the laws of the universe, really. Applying them, focusing in on them. When we do ritual, when we do any sort of ceremony, we're focusing in on something. Anything you focus in on for 17 seconds or more starts to kick in the momentum and the laws of attraction. And here's Mystique saying to keep charging ahead and to expect miraculous solutions. So I believe that as you move forward this week. And again, I want to say Venus is moving into Leo. And when Venus moves into Leo, Shapley cluster. Thank you so much, Scardow. You will see that there's going to be a little bit of a blind spot going on and that something could come up, but it may be for you personally that you're not necessarily recognizing a sense of mastery that you've attained and a sense of trusting a deeper inner knowing of who and what you are and what you're capable of. Okay, going on to our Sagittariuses. What a fun moon that was. And I do find that the change in the moon cycles, is somehow, I feel it. I don't know quite how to explain it, but I almost like the idea of this period of time right now having an illumination before I plant seeds, because I don't think the illumination is illuminating what isn't working. I think it might be starting to illuminate what is working. Because when I think about that Sagittarius full moon, it is not necessarily on any one of my planets. It is, I have a 2-degree Jupiter in Sagittarius, so I'm within the orb for that point in the sky, which was the 13 degrees of Sagittarius. No, the full moon was at 13 degrees. The great attractors at 14 degrees Sagittarius. So how I took it was that I became more aware of my beliefs, Jupiter, Sagittarius, about what I'm attracting and why I'm attracting it. Because if I'm attracting something I find distasteful, is it truly distasteful if it gives me an opportunity to show up differently for myself, thereby seeing my own evolution and being able to pat myself on the back? All right, on to Sagittarius. Now we just had a full moon, and this 5 of Cups can represent some sort of loss. We don't necessarily equate it with the conclusion of something, and yet this is called the divorce card. Now, I don't think that this represents divorce as much as I think it represents an inability to see what is still here, and I'm too busy mourning what I believe has been lost. So let's look and see where this might be for Sagittarius. Our first angel for Sagittarius rising is Isaiah. The second is Daniel. The third is Archangel Raphael. And the final is Rosetta. Oh, well, Jules, it's never easy when relationships shift, but let's see. Isaiah's being joined by the water fairy. Daniel's being joined by the death card. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the forgiveness card. And Rosetta is being joined by the high priestess. Sagittarius, not everybody who is a Sagittarius is experiencing a loss in relationship, but where something has come to a conclusion, our strawberry moon might have, revealed a little bit of that. And at the same time, we're going into a new moon in Gemini that is offering us an opportunity to see how we think. That new moon is going to make a square to Neptune. And I think that square is really more about not the escapism aspect, but am I willing to think in a way that lets me imagine the kind of relationships, all relationships, business relationships, friend relationships, intimate relationships. Are they focused on a sense of thriving or a sense of expansion going on here? Because Isaiah is asking us to give birth to new ideas, and the water fairy is really indicating a birth of new emotions. And maybe part of the challenge is I'm kind of in a habit of looking at what isn't working versus looking at what is working. Pisces is your 4th house, if I'm correct? Sag, Cap, Aquarius, Pisces. Saturn being in your fourth house could have in some ways created some feeling of restriction, limitation, or loss within that home environment. And here we are at the 0 to 7 degrees. We are going to station for the whole month with Saturn at 7 degrees in your fourth house. And I think this is offering our Sagittarius as an illumination. You know, the fourth house rules the family with which we were raised, the family with which we were we garnished our sense of self-worth through that experience. Because Daniel, while he represents marriage, he more so represents history and relationships. And this is an opportunity for transformation. And in our angel's advice, we see Archangel Raphael offering a healing. I don't really believe we're broken, so there's nothing to heal, but there is balancing energy to understand the divine energy that's being offered during a disruption, which then changes forgiveness to integration, to a reconciliation. Oh, I get why that had to happen. And maybe if you're in a challenging relationship or you're in a challenging spot in a relationship, are we only focusing in on what isn't working? And can we start to focus in on what is working and build from there? I think that's very important, because Rosetta talks about teaching, but she also talks about the guiding of children. And are you allowing your inner child to focus in on what feels good? The high priestess is not just about a connection to that which cannot be seen, but it's about discernment. So I want to offer this sort of as an idea that there's a potential that if we're in a challenging situation, let's say we are in a situation where in an intimate relationship and the person's starting to bug us so much that now we think they breathe too heavy and they chew their food too loud and everything they do starts to grate on our nerves. Is that them, or is that our aggravation and our focus? Because I want to offer my Sagittarians that, oftentimes Sagittarius is like Jupiter. Everybody just goes, oh, you're the greatest, you're so fun. But there can be challenges there too. There can be squares or aspects that thwart your ability to see the broader picture and kind of stick you into this other dynamic. So I want to offer it this way. If this week Venus moving into Leo, the sign of romance, making this blind spot to Saturn, has brought up feelings like I'm not lovable, or I'm not being loved right, or I'm not being blah, 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 but whatever my story is. This is an opportunity to see how much time am I hanging out in that? Can I give life to new feelings? Can I start to love on me so that I focus in on the person in a way that I would want them to focus in on me when they're having a challenge with me? There's someone that I have in my tribe, and when they get into challenges in their relationship, this person always tells me about how they observe their partner when they're walking behind them. And it bothers this person because they are not observing their partner in a way that feels good, but rather it feels judgy, and they're aware of it because they're feeling judged from their partner. And their partner is got multiple fixed aspects in their astrology chart. And so this person struggles with the feelings they have when they're watching their partner from behind. So I want to offer my Sagittarius as an opportunity to look and see what you're focusing in on. And if you can turn that around, not because you want to ignore the challenges of your partner, but rather you want to give them the grace you would like them to give you when things are getting a little bit wobbly. Okay, welcome, Creative Flow Seeker. Good to see you. Welcome to the room. Jules, that feels good, because then Spirit is today talking to you, and this is for you, not for the partnership, but as you shift your focus to the things that generally work great, then if for some reason the relationship does hit the skids and gets flushed, then you can say to yourself, wow, I did everything internally to make sure I stood in balance in this situation, so I get to walk away a little bit cleaner. Or it course corrects, which is even better, because then you walk around and you tell people, I was in a situation where I was really looking and seeing the worst in my partner, and I recognize that in myself, so I decided to see the best in them no matter what. And then if that kept, if I working that direction created a sense of me needing independence, I was proud of myself for how I played it out. All right. On to our Capricorns, my goats. I love me, my goats. And here is the Six of Pentacles. This is a card that I just really love because it's really the have not card. Will I be bestowed upon by this benevolent character or won't I? And this is really a bigger question because it's what do I believe about how the universe bestows bounty on me? Because if I'm ever looking for another human to give me something, I truly am in a begging energy. Let's see where we're going, Capricorn. Again, I say again because I've repeated myself so many times through so many videos, but if I would have known the Pluto transits I was having conjunct my personal planets, okay? So Pluto started off conjuncting my Venus as a young girl, then it conjunct my Sun, then it conjunct my Mars, then it conjunct my Jupiter, then it was conjunct my Mercury, then it was conjunct my Neptune, then it was, I'm sorry, I should have put Neptune and Mercury before Jupiter, but I'm just trying to think off the top of my head to tell you how that journey, I'm 63 years old now, so I'm really glad I didn't know that because it would have made me want to go, bye-bye, this is too hard, because I think that I'm living Pluto transformed. It's not perfect, but is there a perfect? I think everything's fabulously flawed. So Capricorn Rising, Shanti is offering a new sense of peace. Indriel is offering an enlightenment. Daniel's offering something about your history and relationships. And Archangel Raphael is offering balance. And then we see that scales of justice right in that 6 there. All right. I love me, my goats. I don't even know why, because Saturn gets up my grill. Saturn really sometimes I'm like, really, Saturn? I'm always your champion. And here you are restricting me, doing, reminding me. And whenever I want to have a pity party, Saturn always says, I'm not in charge of your journey. You're in charge of your journey. Will I see peace or won't I? All right. Shanti's being joined by the King. Indriel's being joined by Merlin. Daniel's being joined by the Queen. And Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Truth card. All righty. Well, Capricorn has plenty of relationships, and I want to offer this because I do think that I'm really focusing in on the scales of justice here. And I want to say that with Shanti and the King here, it feels as if the King is referring to things of pertaining to the law, to justice. We just had a Sagittarius full moon, and here's a sense of peace and tranquility. So I believe that this is really a perception right now. Am I a have or a have not? And meaning this is not necessarily in the material world. Again, it's a perception. Am I able to things pertaining to divine law that offer me peace and tranquility? With Pluto going through your first house for the last, decade plus, there has been a series of disruptions or losses or transformations in relationships of some kind. You could have lost parents, you could have lost partners, so many things could have happened. And at the same time, these are opportunities to dig deep into the balance of the universe, how things become just. And there's an opportunity for magic as I become more enlightened, as I have more awareness of my divinity. Because when I look at this Daniel card, I'm not necessarily again seeing marriage, but history. And if there is a sign that efforts, if there is a sign that works hard and doesn't know how to play, a lot of Capricorn energy can make you a workaholic. And that's out of balance, because I think this is about balance in some way. I feel like Saturn, your ruling planet, is at 7 degrees, about to go retrograde in the sign of creativity, in the sign of connection to spirit, in the sign that is not of this earth really. And yet there is Capricorn totally of this earth. So I think this is about coming into balance with your ability to receive from the universe. Hence this card here, because Archangel Raphael, the healer, is now the balancer, because the truth is now before us. And I think that truth is that all things are just and leading us to our peace of mind, the more that we are aware of our focus. Do I believe things come to me easily, or do I believe that it's difficult? Capricorn is a builder. And if for some reason, going into those last degrees of Capricorn, and you're a late born Capricorn, you're feeling that things are, I'm losing this client, or this is breaking up, or blah, blah, blah. There's an opportunity for you to dig deeper into those relationships. And if they were truly satisfying you on an emotional level, or were they just satisfying the material and eroding your physical body? If one works so hard they never play, eventually the soul can't take it anymore. And this, because especially if you're working towards something that you have no passion for, because if you have passion for it, then there'll be a sense of playtime. So the musician who, is ravenously and prolifically writing songs is enjoying themselves. That to me is not a problem. But when there's a have to, should to, need to, must do, that's no bueno. So here, it's time to foster peace for yourself and balance as you understand the ebb and the flow. The magic of alchemy comes through balance. And that is a divine gift, an epiphany that I think Pluto is bringing for you. And I think Daniel here is really representing your history. And are you able to receive? I truly believe the human is more freaked out when things start working out for them than they are when they're struggling to get them. Because we always feel like things, no good deed goes unpunished. The rug will get pulled out from underneath us. And now the truth comes because you're aware of your mind is the thing that is the greatest security, is your awareness of, do I believe I'm able to receive, or do I believe I always get the short end of the stick? And the story you tell repeatedly is the story you will experience. It's the law of the universe. And I know I got some stories stuck in my head. I got stories so far deep in my head, I don't even know I think it. You know the other thing that's bugging me lately? I don't know why I want to share it. I have Melissa McCarthy singing some stupid commercial running through my head every night as I'm sleeping. I don't know what it is. It's like she's like in different character modes, and she's singing about a vacation or something. And I don't know what it's stuck in my head. And the worst part is having it stuck where you don't know the words, but you just can feel them sort of subconsciously. Anyway, all right, Aquarius, the Justice card. Now, this is fabulous. This is very Sagittarian, because we know that Sagittarius rules the justice system, supreme justice system. Let's look and see what's going on. Lucy Rose, are you still in the room? I don't know, Astral Guide. I don't know if I don't think I'm going to be traveling. I'd be surprised if I went anywhere. I've been such a homebody. Okay, here we go. For our Aquarius, our first angel is Grace and Antoinette. The second is Archangel Michael. The third is Daniel. Wow. We keep getting Daniel. And then we have Mystique. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, joining Grace and Antoinette is the Dragon. Joining Archangel Michael is the Risk card. Joining Daniel is the Queen. And joining Mystique is the Focus card. When I look at this for my Aquariuses, I feel as if, oh, there you are. Hi, hon. When I look at this, of course, I feel like in about a week and a half, that's when Pluto is going to actually move back into Capricorn, and then it's going to stay there until January 2024. And I want to offer it this way because when I look at the Justice card, I was really focused in on how the sword sort of blends into the pillar. You really can't see it, it doesn't pop out at you. And yet over here, the scales of justice, they're a little bit more prevalent, I guess. And then I saw this purple background, and I feel as if there's something going on with Aquarius where your ability to sort of stay, I want to say, in your intuitive body, in the part of yourself that is able to see a bigger picture of things. When I said that, I thought about the cosmic consciousness. I thought about the human collective, and sort of it felt like there's could potentially be something where the universe is at work for you, and your job is to stay focused in on your holy mission, for lack of a better term, what it is you want to birth out into the world, maybe even taking a moment to rest, relax, or create some sort of balance for yourself within your mind. Because Grace and Antoinette and the dragon being sort of a calm energy made me feel like maybe you might be feeling a little nervous. Maybe you feel like I need to be, doing more. You've got this conjunction right now between your ruling planet and Mercury. Mercury zips around the zodiac. Maybe you're feeling a call to action, and Spirit's actually saying, whoa, slow your roll. Because when you have compassion for yourself, as maybe you sit in an energy because you're aware of your own thoughts, and it's time to be just and balanced and fair within your energy of something. Because Archangel Michael is talking about making a change, having the courage to do so, and there's a risk involved. And the risk would be to believe that you receive, because historically it's the efforting human that makes, we got to pound the pavement. You got to reach out to your contacts. You got to make those sales calls. You got to do. And if for some reason you're starting to adopt your Aquarian energy where you're aware that it's a be, do, have, what is my being energy? One of the craziest things about me in this experience is that I have gambled on my whole existence of my being energy, my body being able to facilitate my experience as I grow old, my prosperity as I grow old. And I believe that what that is kind of futuristic thinking. I think that is the age of Aquarius, and I'm part of this, the precursor to that. I'm an indigo child, okay? And I'm aware of that. So I really must exercise compassion and a sense of understanding when I'm in an energy that's counterintuitive to what other humans would tell me I should be doing in order to be successful. Because Mystique is saying to keep charging ahead and expect miraculous solutions as you're aware of your focus. Because Daniel, of course, I'm really not going to marriage. I'm going to history. History is that we effort. Things don't come to us effortlessly and easily. And yet, if we think about what this full moon was an illumination on the great attractor, not the great efforter, the great attractor. And the great attractor is at the Taurian Venus degree. Venus, remember, she's laying on the, on her chaise lounge. She's waiting for someone to bring her some grapes or wine. She's relaxing. She's enjoying. So I think for my Aquariuses, there's an opportunity for you to harness in your thoughts rather than letting them bring you anxiety, that it's just and fair for you to think outside the box and to trust that when you feel anxious, potentially, that's a time to have compassion for yourself and to calm your mind enough to be able to connect to spirit and to focus in on the task at hand and to be brave enough to continue that focus and then to see how things start to materialize for you. All right. Like McKenna showing up in the room today. I mean, I don't know what made me think about her, But I love to notice those things, because if I think about somebody, and I was obviously, she's a lovely girl, so I was sending her well wishes while I was thinking about her. And then all of a sudden she shows up in the chat. These little signs and omens are, well, if I can manifest that, I mean, maybe she was thinking about me too, so she manifested me. I don't know, but does it matter? Because it was evidence that my thoughts become things. And if I can do it that way, maybe I can win the lottery. Like to win the lottery? Okay, here we go. Hey, 145 Club, welcome to the room. All right, on to our Pisces. Inspiration. Oh my goodness. Wonderful, wonderful. I love that, because that's 2-degree Libra is something too, I think. I'm pretty sure, because I remember my sister's, I think my sister's south node is 2 degrees Libra. Mine's at 3 degrees. My north node's 3 degrees Libra. Okay, anyway, Pisces. Here is inspiration. Here's passion, the beginning of some new inspirations. So this is exciting. Now, let me offer you this, okay? Because I know Saturn's going through your first house, and those first 7 degrees, oh, they're shocking, a little jarring, a little unpleasant maybe at first. But as we go in retrograde, it gives us an opportunity to really reflect on what it is that I want to build. And Saturn loves you because he wants you to build sustainability within your craft, within your creativity. Let's look and see. Our first angel for Pisces is Caressa. The second is Archangel Uriel. The third is Isabella. And the final is Fiona. Thank you, 145 Club. The Galactic Center. Okay, so we have the Galactic Center, the Super Galactic Center, the Great Attractor, and the Shapley Attractor, and they're all known as the Shapley Cluster. And it's, I believe it's spelled Ley, according to that video. That's why I keep trying to call it Shapley. All right. Pisces, joining Caressa is the High Priestess. Joining Archangel Uriel is Merlin. Joining Isabella is the Water Fairy. And joining Fiona is the Lady of the Lake. Okay. My beautiful, beautiful Pisces, my mutable Pisces, my cooperative, compassionate, empathetic Pisces, God bless you. It's time to put the focus on you. It's time to be a little me, because I believe that as you have these 2 strong planets, Neptune at 27 degrees stationing in your first house, and then Saturn for the whole month of June stationing at 7 degrees, is an opportunity for you to start to implement your imagination, your passions, your creativity, your desires, the things that the musings of your mind. Forget all the darker sides of Pisces. I'm not going to go with the mental illness, and I'm not going to go with the addiction right now, because this feels nothing like that. It feels like I've got this opportunity to look to the stars and to use my mind to create more excitement. And here, okay, Caressa talks about the end of a life cycle. And I don't know that this is actually involving another person as much as it's you with you. This is where the High Priestess is about discernment. This is where the High Priestess is like being like Saturn. So I think you're coming to the end of a life cycle, which brings new happiness, because you're starting to be more discerning about what you want to feel inspired and impassioned by. Because Archangel Uriel is about frustration and anger and unforgiveness, but I'm going to go frustration here, because you may be frustrated and you may have felt frustration with all things that Saturn has touched in your life right now. But I think Saturn is touching them because Saturn is asking you to build something with a strong foundation. You don't want to build a house of straw in Hurricane Alley. And here, Merlin is offering balance. And I think there's a sense of alchemy, but I really believe that it's balance. It's balance in understanding that when you take care of you rather than putting all the focus on somebody else or escaping from the darkness. It isn't about having to confront the darkness. It's about being constructive with your own energy within chaos. So this is where I want to go back to my focus. I think it's really crazy metaphor that I have this crazy highway where people are driving 9,000 miles an hour. And I'm not really exaggerating, because they're so pissed off by the time they get to this spot that they come off the red light like banshees. Okay. And you can hear the car and then the sirens, blah, blah, blah. And then over here are dolphins. And over here are Seahawks and the sound of the ocean and the waves rolling. And I'm constantly being tasked, which direction am I going to look? That's what's going on here for my Pisces. What direction are you going to look? Because there is balance. And if you keep looking at the darkness, you're going to feel frustration, because it's time right now for you to feel more happiness, to trust now this is your emotional body, but I also believe it's a creative aspect. People write love songs oftentimes because their hearts are broken, or they paint, they express their emotional life through their art. And I think that's what Spirit is talking about for my Pisces, is to express your emotional body through, or your heart and your emotional body through your art in some way. And it doesn't mean that you have to be an artist. It could be that you like to spend time crafting, and you give yourself permission to craft as a way of decompressing from everything. Because Fiona says, now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. And then the Lady of the Lake is here saying, oh no, I have to but what about all the people that I love and that I'm compassionate and empathetic towards? Will it create a problem with those relationships if I follow my truth? And this is where Fiona is saying, be brave. Be brave, because you could inspire them inadvertently. And that bravery, I think, is really implementing a sense of discernment. When I was younger, if you didn't watch the news, you were kind of considered like one of those people, oh, you're uninformed. And while all of that may be true, I have come to the realization that when I'm informed, I'm riddled with fears and insecurities and things that feel like they're going to go wonky on me. So I've learned how to be discerning in where I put my attention and how informed do I really need to be. I didn't pay any attention to the Johnny Depp trial. I have no idea what happened there. I have no idea what's happening at the whole Vanderpump whatever controversy. I see it trending, but I don't want to involve myself in that kind of nonsense. So I tend to put my focus in places where I think people are inspiring, and people are lifting themselves up from their imprint. Recently, I found, because of Jelly Roll's wife, Bunny, I saw her on TikTok, and there was something so authentic about this woman. She's just sort of unabashed, I think she's got some Aries and Capricorn energy, but I really liked her. And then I was introduced to her husband through her. And, I sort of had the initial reaction everybody else does, because Jelly Roll's a very big man, and, not necessarily what we would call people's, sexiest man alive. And yet when she talks about him from a soul level. And I felt so inspired by them, and inspired by their story, and inspired by how they lived their lives. And, it just was fabulous to me. None of the choices that I would make, nothing that is personally like, oh, I wish I had their life, but I'm totally inspired by their life. So I don't know why I'm telling you that story. I just started it, and I don't remember why I started it. All right, Aries, the Knight of Cups. Okay. Aries, Aries, Aries. Such a Piscean energy. We see the little fish on him. We see this sort of flirtatious foot up with the horse. And then we see those wings on his helmet. It's quite interesting to me. Let's see where we're going with this. That may be, but I think most of us don't even know how to find the joy in our lives. I think that we've been pummeled with these transits that are, kind of fostering fears of the viability of moving forward. And so sometimes, at least with those, I don't know about, I don't really perceive, I guess there's certain people I perceive as narcissists, but I more or less look at those two when I use them as an example. It felt like, Jelly spent a lot of his younger years in jail. He's got tats on his face. He came from a kind of a rough upbringing, and now he kind of sings songs I find are rather inspirational. And I feel like I see a big heart inside of him. So I like that, because I feel like media is a polarizing thing, and those that are being authentic to their story are being attractors to others. And so that's why I kind of felt like I liked them. Who's Jelly Roll? Oh, you'll have to look him up. I love that. Jules Scarrett Out. I think you'll like him. He used to be a rapper. I don't know his rap music, but now he's singing country music. And I love, there's this song he just sang on American Idol. And then there's, he's coming into more and more prominence. Look into him. I think you'll like him. Okay, so here we are. We're talking to Aries. We're talking Knight of Cups here. We've got our first angel, Archangel Gabriel. The second is Mystique. The third is Sonia. And the final is Caressa. So for our Aries, what we do know is that Chiron's been transiting through Aries for quite some time. We know that our late-born Aries are going to feel that square to Pluto as it moves back into Capricorn. I think it's not only Lucy Rose going to set us apart. I think it's going to be the glue that keeps us together, because that's where the acceptance and the diversity and that Sagittarian energy comes in for me. That's where the Aquarian energy becomes curious and willing to express and to receive the valuable diversity and the valuable variance of these experiences. I believe the reason that we have not discovered aliens on this planet is because there are so many different species of life out in the universe and in the multiple universes with which we are part of, within the galaxy, within the this and the that we're waiting for us to be able to accept ourselves as humans before we can actually start accepting the integration of something that's even more different than us. Okay, Aries. Archangel Gabriel's being joined by the Serpent. Mystique's being joined by the Protection card. Sonia's being joined by Love. And Caressa's being joined by the Restriction card. The Knight of Cups is interesting because when you're reading for a person, the Knight of Cups can be a little sketchy. It can be somebody who comes in and offers his cup of love and then runs back out real quickly. It's got a kind of teenage fickleness to it. So I want to say it this way, because when I looked at this, I felt as if Aries feels alone often. There's a sense of needing the self to be acknowledged. I want others to acknowledge me for my individuality. And yet then there's that conflict of the hero wanting to save people. So sometimes the Aries energy can't decide if it wants to war against you or love on you. And I feel that right now that might be something that Aries is walking through, is that awareness. How do I want to offer my cup of love? And do I offer my cup of love with ease? Do I offer it to myself with ease? Because that mercurial, this helmet with those wings, tell me it has something to do with the way that I'm thinking and the way that I perceive love. Because Archangel Gabriel also talks about, how do I think? And this is an opportunity to shed a skin, to gain knowledge, to take the platform with which I was launched off of and use it as what it is, a launching pad, not an anchor to carry me forward or to tether me to the past. Because Mystique is asking me to charge forward, to expect miraculous solutions. And then there's the Protection card. And I believe that this horse, when I saw Mystique, I went right to the legs. You can see the legs are galloping out of the dark. And then I went back to this knight. And I thought to myself, okay, so maybe I just want to go into a slow walk versus trying so hard to get away from what may be Pluto's influence, this dark energy, because I'm being protected as I walk through this, because I have the hand of my guides here revealing love to me in a way that is not necessarily intimate love, sexual love, but a deep love, a love for life, a love for the ups and the downs, a love for the challenges that that expose my heroism, that my bravery. I've often thought, I've been accused of being a very aggressive person in certain situations, and I don't back down. My first response is to snap back. Recently, one of my neighbors made a comment to me that honestly pissed me off so much. And I had the wherewithal to let him know that it hurt my feelings. And then I had the wherewithal to walk away before I said something I would regret. To me, that feels like my guides reminding me that I love these aspects of myself and I'm learning how to hone them. I'm learning how to use them as with intention rather than with reaction. Because Caressa says you're at the end of a life cycle, that new happiness awaits you. And when I saw the restriction card, I immediately felt that Saturn energy. I felt like this was an awareness of how do I process things? How do I receive love? When my friend was here last week, he's an easy guy to be around. I mean, no demands, really easy breezy in all ways. And yet I was really sort of unused to having another human here. And I could feel a sense of uncomfortableness about it. And it had nothing to do with him. It had everything to do with me. And here I am talking about how I want to interact with other people. And yet I have weird buttons about being around people too much. So this is my opportunity to really start to muse on that and to allow for Pluto to do what it does best, make me aware of these two ways of my being and to help support more the way I want to be versus how I have been. So there we go. I agree, 145 Club. I want to say this. When I talked about Jelly and Bunny, it wasn't just from watching their TikToks. Over the last months, Jelly has become really more prevalent. He's won awards. So I've been able to see him in varying ways. He even did a video of road rage that he had. And I thought, this guy is so authentic. And that's where my intuition comes in because I look at these things and I kind of have a tendency to hone in on them versus just looking at them as flat. So I think we're being offered through the internet and through social media influences sort of a polarizing experience of authenticity and lack thereof. All right, let's get on to our Tauruses so y'all can get on with your day. Okay, Taurus. Well, here it is. I love this. This guy has amassed things. He's grown them. He has nurtured them. He planted those little seeds, and now he's deciding whether or not it's time to harvest. This is very good because to me, with Jupiter in your first house up against the North Node, this is a ravenous energy to me. This is a wanting to, make that change, move that story forward, get that thing done, get moving. And we have Uranus and Mercury in your first house. Now they are conjunct today. Mercury will start to move on, but they're at 20 degrees. So this is very much a liberating energy for me because that 20th degree is that Scorpio degree. And the assessment that you're having, well, let's see where we're going with this. My Taurus moon is curious. Because I thought to myself, oh dear, do I really want to revisit my emotional old crap again? I don't think I need to do that. Oh, I really think that I like Jupiter's energy. And at the same time, sometimes I feel like I can get a little spendy when Jupiter's around. Like I bought a bidet. Scott put that in. I had to buy a new light for my bathroom. I bought a rebounder. I bought a bunch of herbs. I bought human grade charcoal because I'm all into now putting things in my body that fuel my body. Jupiter moving into my second house of food. I just thought it was funny. Because I literally am like, I bought all these stuff to make salves, ginger salves, sleeping with castor oil on my naughty fingers, meaning my naughty fingers. Anyway, all right. We're assessing something in the material. What is it? Let's look. Daniel, the angel of marriage. Well, isn't he popping up a lot today? Astera, Rosetta, and Indriel. Thank you, 145 Club. I got to tell you, the rebounder I think was a good idea. I kind of like bouncing, and I haven't moved my body with any. Since I got lucky, he's not a dog that you walk. He's a dog that meanders. And people go, well, you walk your dog, you get exercise. I'm like, are you kidding? We walk like 2 feet, he smells a rock. We walk 2 feet, he smells a leaf. We walk 1 inch, he smells another leaf. Then he turns backwards and he smells pee he found. I mean, it's no exercise. And then there's cloudy weather makes me I shouldn't blame the weather. I'm already lazy, but the weather doesn't help me want to be up. All right, Daniel and the Serpent, Astera and the Disruption card, Rosetta and the Lady of the Lake, Indriel and the Restriction card. All right, I want to offer this to my Tauruses. You have a really long time with Jupiter. You got a good year with Jupiter in your first house. And I think what this card is really starting to think about, what do you want to continue to grow? What do you want? Because you're going to be successful and expand. And now this is an opportunity for you to make choices. Because here, Daniel is the angel of marriage, but also the angel of history. And I say that if we were doing a personal reading, I would probably see Daniel a little different. But when I'm talking to so many people that I think could potentially not be married or want to be married, there's an opportunity for me to look here at something, a historic issue. Something that I tend to think about over and over again, or an imprint of some kind that's just how it is, right? That's just how it is. That's reality. And yet now there's an opportunity for knowledge. And I think that's the Uranus Mercury. Something pops, something unexpected. So let's call disruption Uranus. Okay, in the opportunity or the obstacle. And now Astera, while it says to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires, there's a big dark spot in the middle of those stars. And I almost feel like in this moment, this is the opportunity. The disruption could be a little Uranian, and it could be an awareness of Mercury's energy. And now what am I going to do? Am I either going to tank myself and go back to what's always been there and continue to foster that energy? Or maybe I'll start to give life to a new energy, because Jupiter rules faith. Jupiter rules expansion of my ideas and my ideologies and my philosophies. And, a good farmer knows that you have to retool the soil. You don't want to plant tomatoes in the same soil as last season. There's something about it that the tomato crop doesn't work as well. So there's something about integrating what you know about how you've grown things up until now. And now here's a time to be, in the angel's advice, this is about education. And I think this is your personal education of your inner child. And will you have the bravery, the courage to allow for that child to thrive? And when I say that, it may mean that I'm disrupting something that has given me a false sense of security, or has given me security in the material, and yet the emotional is starting to dim a little bit, because I say dim because of the restriction card. And Ariel is offering me a sense of an epiphany through spirit. So I want to offer it this way for my Tauruses. As you, right now we've got Jupiter, the North Node, Mercury, and Uranus all in your house. If there's something within your everyday life that suddenly becomes disruptive, or, out of nowhere, something shifts, this is an opportunity for you to really assess whether you were on the path that was making you happy, that was really something you were excited about, something you believed in, something that you wanted to expand upon, or is this an opportunity to start to plant those seeds and build a new crop? Because over the next year, whatever you put focus on is going to grow. And as you decide, does this make me happy? Is this fun? Is this supporting my vitality as I age? Because as we age, I'm really starting to realize that there's a lot of me that in my Taurus moon that doesn't like change, or I feel the anger outside. And while I want to be an adventurer outside, I don't always feel like it's a safe place to adventure. So I've been assessing where I want to be and what do I want to grow and how do I want to grow it. And that's been a gift of that's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride. So if you have felt some disruption of some sort, then this is a time to dig deeper into what is really authentic to you and to the inner child. I know, I think you should be excited about it because it isn't really negative. It's more, to me, I feel like if I kind of try to stay in the same place and I don't allow the knowledge I've garnished to allow me to shed a new skin or to integrate the new, my evolved version of myself, the epiphanies I've had. I really think that this is a moment of introspection and then direction. So you being excited about Jupiter and Uranus is going to liberate you, potentially allow you expansion on your internet platforms. All of us are going to, at some point, have opportunities to make money over the internet through some skill or some sort of, your skill could be your opinion, how you think. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing, learning astrology and then sort of putting my Teriism on it. So this is a big week, as they all seem to be lately. Oh, yeah, it's going to continue to get intense because Uranus is going to just hover over that rising sign and really, ask you to liberate yourself, to be futuristic, to think in Uranian ways. Well, I want to offer this because, Uranus was a little rough. When Uranus was transiting my rising sign is when I started working for myself. And it was all through disruption, unexpected argument. I had no real means of security at the time, but that also called forth, what did I believe in myself? And when I realized I believed in myself more than I didn't believe in myself, I just kept betting on myself. And it was really taking things slow. I remember one time standing on a corner and feeling the talons of fear, literally like there was an eagle or a hawk just digging into my arms, asking me if I was fearful. And I said, Spirit, help me to spread my wings. Help me to have experiences that anchor in my sense of security as I venture out with myself in the world, when I start to bet on those divine laws. Because that disruption of the human structure is not supported. People will constantly ask you how you're going to do something. And the how indicates an action. And I don't believe in the how first. I believe in the, what do I believe about it? What is the being energy? And that's where it might get a little sticky for Taurus, because that's a dig deep kind of question. All right. Exactly. And I think that's the true age of Aquarius, Lucy Rose. All right. One more thing I want to say before this very long broadcast ends is please say prayers for Small Wildflowers, for her son-in-law. He's experiencing some issues, as well as her granddaughter. I've been calling her Wee Flowers. And this has been going on for a couple of weeks. So please say your prayers for her, send her light and love and peace of mind. All right, everybody, we'll be back next week, 11 a.m. Pacific time, for another live stream. I hope y'all have a lovely week. Enjoy Venus's entry into Leo. I expect there to be romance popping up all over the place. Old people coming back in, new people coming in, all sorts of stuff. All right, everybody, thanks so much. And I appreciate your likes. I appreciate you subscribing. I appreciate your comments. And of course, always hit that notification bell. All right, everybody. Peace out. I'll see you next week.